Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Baron here. So this is kind of big news. This is something kind of like French tech trees and Japanese tanks and Italian tech trees and even boats / ships trigger that we've kind of been waiting for in War Thunder for literally years. And obviously, you know, I'm no developer, but this is a bomber cockpit. Now, when there were cockpits implemented from the beginning for all the fighter aircraft, everyone was like, okay, so what, we gotta wait a few months for bomber cockpits? But it is literally taken years, and right now we are looking at a Junkers 88A4. This is the cockpit. Here's Fritz. He's leaning down. He is literally bending over, previewing the battlefield. And he's got a nice little machine gun there. He can. I wonder if he's gonna switch or if you can manually take control of that. Probably not, but one can dream. And then here we have Hans in the back, always protecting your butt from those allied fighter pilots. Ladies and gentlemen, this is bomber cockpits. Finally coming to War Thunder. Holy crap, it's kind of like a holiday. So, in update 1.65, which I believe is a samurai themed, Gaijin plans to introduce one of the most anticipated features in simulator battles: 3D cockpits for all aircraft that do not have them at the moment. Due to the absence of cockpits, simulator battle pilots, especially bomber pilots, did not have proper immersion on the one hand and had superior view with the virtual cockpit on the other. This is why we are introducing 3D cockpits. For the majority of multi-seat aircraft, in most cases, this means a dimensional cockpit model, a simplified cockpit that takes real aircraft topography into account as well as pilot allocation, and provides a sufficient set of instruments to fly. The decision was made to implement bomber cockpits in this manner for a very good reason. The creation of one bomber cockpit can take as much time as that of an entire fighter aircraft with cockpit. To put that in perspective, to create complete cockpits for all bombers in the game would equate approximately to an entirely new nation's complete aviation tree. Where's Italy though? Besides cockpits, there will be another interesting and long anticipated feature: changes in bomber gameplay. Now remember, I don't know if it was 1.61 or even 1.59, but I was like, I swear the next patch needs to be Bomber 2.0. So it's about time we've got a nice change to bomber gameplay, because bombers are a key feature of aerial battles and just kind of World War II, you know, aerial immersion, right? So you need good bomber gameplay or nobody is going to play them. In fact, certain nations don't even really play bombers at all, while other nations may go really bomber heavy, and that equates to a very unbalanced play in both realistic battles, you know, and I would imagine simulator battles as well, when like one nation's entirely fighters and the other one is mixed between bombers and fighters, right? So firstly, according to popular demand in realistic air battles and combined battles, we are switching off the arcade bomb aiming circle, which on one hand will make dive bombers and attackers more important, and on the other hand it will make flying level bombers more interesting and skillful. Players will have to plan their attack, and it will encourage them to use the bomber view. Secondly, we plan to introduce an option to control bomb doors, thus making it possible to drop numerous bombs at once, which will make bombing more efficient. At the moment, a player has to take the time needed for automatic bomb door opening into account, otherwise bombs usually miss the target. So there's also going to be improvements to the X-ray mode. Another useful feature will be expanded functions for the X-ray mode in the hangar. In this mode, information about the nodes, components, characteristics, and all these features will be displayed, in particular the model and power of the engine depending on the chosen game mode and unlocked modules. As well as all this, we have concentrated on fixing a lot of different bugs, and by we, I do not mind me at all, Gaijin. The list of these fixes will be published in the final changelog in the upcoming major update. So that's another key point. This is a major update. This thing is going to be huge. The fact that you have Japanese tanks, this massive update to bombers in general, and boats being added, it really makes you think. This is my personal thought, is like War Thunder is going into year 5. They just celebrated their 4th year anniversary. So in year 5, I believe it's more about audience retention, maybe, like, or player retention, than maybe like attracting new players. I'm not entirely sure, but like, think the player base number, what it could be if Gaijin had been able, and this is what all video game developers strive to do, been able to keep as many as possible during the years. Now, a lot of people have been frustrated, or may have been looking forward to something and never got it, and then, you know, maybe got sick of the experience, or just tired, or there's just other video games out there to play, right? So now it seems like with this patch, I really I hope, I'm not going to say I think, but I truly hope that this is going to mark a new era where Gaijin as a developer starts to listen to the community. Now, on my indie games channel, which is just off the wall thriving right now, I think part of the reason for that success is because when you play indie games, those developers are very in touch with their player base. They listen to them because they have to. If they want to make a good game and they want people to play it, they need to make a good game. They need to listen to what people want to do. Now, if you look at Totally Accurate Battle Simulator as an example, which currently is my favorite video game in the moment, that is a developer that is giving away amazing content for arguably free, and they listen to the community and their updates. It's an entirely different style of game. It's much more simpler graphically, which is one of the reasons why Bomber Cockpits took so much longer. Like, we're going for a completely different situation. But if Gaijin kind of goes down that road, which is to truly listen to the community, like, I've made this analogy, and I don't know how appropriate it is, but this is the one that I decide to use. And I feel like cultural differences between, Russia, which is a former socialist republic, where you had this thing called a command economy. Basically, the guy at the top says what happens, and that's what goes, versus, a Western-style democracy or market economy, an economy decided by the people, by supply and demand, that is, arguably driven by profit, which can be bad, but in some cases, at least it allows for the democratic process, right? And I think that culturally, Gaijin's like, we know what to do, we're gonna do it, and you guys are gonna like it, and it worked. It worked for many years. It could have worked better, but it did work. And now I feel like they might be just moving into this new territory of, okay, now that we've been out for a while, it's time to really, you need to adapt. You need to change focus. Just like I do as a YouTube content creator, just like you do in your personal life, in your relationships, in your business, in your job, in your exercise regimen, you always have to adapt and change, right? Just like a video game developer, they've got to change too. So I'm hoping that this update is huge, and they're adding a lot of things that people have been asking for a while. Japanese tanks being added, boats being added, bomber cockpits being added. The only thing, like the two other big things that I think that I've been asking for, I think a decent percentage of the community has, but none of them, I guess, or you could say were as earnestly requested as, the 3 that are being implemented, would be Italy and France. And also, like, I mean, you can definitely make a case for a minor nations or all other nations tech tree, a combined tech tree, which would be really, really interesting and really, really fascinating. Now, are we going to see that in a year or so? Who knows? But right now, Bombers 2.0 are coming. There was the announcements of the Japanese Tiger and the Japanese with the, was it a 128mm gun, I believe, and naval gun. I mean, there's some cool stuff coming. I'm excited for Bombers because Bomber gameplay has been stale for years. And unless you're going to fly out like a BV-238 or a Tupolev 4 and just shred other aircraft, you know, bombing ground targets hasn't been fun for me in about probably 2.5 to 3 years. Now, I love attacking. I think being an attacker is one of the most interesting things in the game. You get to attack air and ground targets. And making attacking the ground targets more compelling, more interesting, and more rewarding will add to the overall immersion and overall quality of the game. So I'm completely thrilled that patch 1.65, already very, very ambitious, and they're shooting for the moon by adding Japanese tanks and boats for all nations. They're also throwing in bomber cockpits finally. So this is going to be a massive update. It's going to be huge. Hopefully it ushers in a nice resurgence for War Thunder, because I think it's safe to say that over the last couple months, the player base has been dropping a little bit, and it makes you wonder as to like what needs to be changed in order to bring it back. So ladies and gentlemen, bomber cockpits are coming, boats are coming, Japanese tanks are coming. Now the question of the day is, which of those three are you most interested in? Which one do you think you're going to enjoy the most? I'm going to put a comment down below. Please respond to it. If you see the comment, please like it so that other people are more than likely to see it and then respond. And thus we get a nice dialogue going. Because I think Gaijin, they're obviously going to be able to tell post-patch statistically, right? But I want to know for our community which one, you know, the majority of the community, like which one's first, second, and third. We can kind of get a feel. I'm actually going to put a Twitter poll up. And I think it'd be pretty interesting. So, ladies and gentlemen, which one are you most excited for? Japanese tanks, War Thunder boats, or Bombers 2.0, aka Bomber cockpits, and their adjusted changes? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Baron. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.